WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia? How about 2 WrestleManias in 1 year? We're going to talk about that, plus NXT Europe, and of course, we got to talk about Brock Lesnar's clearance. We got a major update on this, and who's really responsible for that, and their philosophy has changed. This might change the way WWE brings back former talent. Let's talk about it. And as always, if you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button. This way you never miss a video on the channel. I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way every single day. But I want to kick things off in today's video talking about NXT Europe. I have followed the NXT Europe situation literally since the moment NXT UK was canceled and we were told we're getting an NXT Europe. Now, just a few months ago, WWE was talking about doing NXT Europe. And what was so funny about this is that we were all under the belief that it was happening, especially because there would be times where we get updates, whether it be from Shawn Michaels or, Triple H or whatever it may be, that there is still talks of doing NXT Europe. Now, internally, WWE has actually not had any of these talks about NXT Europe, and it's become a very interesting situation because, as you guys know, WWE just did tryouts in SummerSlam. And with their tryouts in SummerSlam, we have quite a few talent from the European indie wrestling scene who have appeared in the tryouts. We know WWE was rumored to have signed a few people from the European indies, and they were scheduled to start in WWE by September. But we still have no announcement from NXT Europe. We have no sort of idea what is happening there. Now, I believe that NXT Europe at some point will happen. However, I do think it is off the table for the foreseeable future. The reason being is WWE clearly has a different plan, especially now that they've acquired AAA. So I think WWE winning the Latin American market is probably going to be a big focus for them. Also, I do believe that WWE currently, as it stands, will eventually have an expansion of performance centers. So we know that the Performance Center will be moving to Las Vegas at some point. We know WWE is going to be doing stuff with the Apex at some point. We know that WWE is potentially bringing in a Performance Center to Mexico. Guys, I don't know what else is going on here. I wish I could have some really clear-cut answer on this, but it just doesn't seem like this is a priority for WWE, and it's surely not a priority for TKO. If it was, it would have been done by now. I'm not saying it's not happening at all, but for the foreseeable future, I would not anticipate this happening. It seems like all the talks about it are officially done with for now. WWE has other plans, and of course, I think those priorities that WWE has currently are much bigger, hence why we've seen the change. That brings us to Brock Lesnar. Okay, so I talked about this the other day, the reason why WWE brought back Brock Lesnar, it's a really big deal, yada, yada, yada. However, today there has actually been a massive update. So the thing that's really happened here, there's 2 things that have happened since the last time we talked about this. One, Paul Heyman went on Ariel Helwani's show. That's kind of old news. That happened a day or 2 ago. Not really a big deal. I didn't really find it important to cover, but Paul Heyman basically kind of shrugged off the idea of cancel culture regarding Brock Lesnar, okay? Which makes a lot of sense, to be honest. For WWE's, Paul Heyman, this is a guy who ran ECW. He don't give a crap about cancel culture. So it kind of makes sense for him to shrug it off. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. Whatever. Do your thing. At the end of the day, Paul Heyman was talking about Brock Lesnar potentially receiving a new deal. That makes a lot of sense too. I get it. So then, now we get some reports that have come out. Meltzer is one that's reported this. There's been a whole bunch of talk about this. Normally, I don't like to cover what Meltzer says. You guys know this. But there is a little bit of validity to this based on the way WWE has responded. So I kind of want to talk about that. WWE always had a plan for Brock Lesnar to come back. But the way that it works, the way that it is here, essentially, Nick Khan has a different belief when it comes to this whole cancel culture thing, this whole idea of, hey, you haven't been convicted, we're not making this an issue. That's kind of where we're at with Brock Lesnar. So the fact that Brock Lesnar, yes, he is technically named in the lawsuit. He is not being sued. He's not part of the lawsuit in the sense that he's being sued. There's nothing that truly indicates that Brock Lesnar in this situation is actually guilty of committing illegal activity. Now, with that being said, WWE's philosophy has clearly changed. It is very clear when you watch WWE programming, they brought him back without question. They are not even addressing the Janelle Grant lawsuit because I think the way that it's working with WWE now is that the issue is either going to be settled in court, or Brock Lesnar's inclusion in this is not relevant at all to keeping him on TV or off TV. I think initially WWE was fearful of having him on TV. Now that they waited X amount of time, at this point, I don't think they have any sort of concern at all. And really what this comes down to is WWE is completely changing their philosophy on the way they do things. Now they're not afraid to show Triple H being with Donald Trump on the on the Jumbotron. You know what I mean? Like, these are things that they're just not worried about anymore. And I think WWE in the past kind of steered away from this kind of stuff, but now they're not really concerned about it. And because Brock Lesnar hasn't done anything criminal in this case, he has not been convicted of anything criminal, he's not being sued for anything criminal, I think that's why WWE is just like, okay, at this point we're done with it, we're gonna move forward. But also it's going to be very interesting, how does this apply to everybody else, right? There are other people that may have been convicted of a crime. How does WWE determine what they're going to do, how they're going to do it? I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all situation. Let's talk about WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. We have to talk about this because there was some tweets that have gone out, and really specifically, like, if you guys know, so the man that is responsible for a lot of the WWE and the UFC and the boxing and all this stuff during Riyadh season, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Turki Al-Sheikh. I believe that is his name. He put out a tweet the other day. He put out a post, kind of like just some stuff with WWE. Like, obviously he's been very happy with WWE. He's working with TKO for the boxing stuff. He kind of put out a tweet that there's a lot of belief, with his latest, with a post on social media, there's this like belief that there is more in the works with WWE and Saudi Arabia. And of course, there's a lot of people coming out and talking about this, but there had been a rumor for a long time is that WWE may potentially be bringing WrestleMania to Saudi Arabia. Now, in today's video, we are talking about that possibility because it sounds like in 2026, 2027, whenever it may be, WWE could potentially be bringing us a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. Just like we originally saw with the greatest Royal Rumble, right? That's kind of what it sounds like could be here, is the greatest Royal Rumble. And then with that, they could do the greatest WrestleMania or WrestleMania Saudi Arabia. And obviously WWE doing that kind of makes sense from a business standpoint because you could do 2 WrestleManias. And that's exactly what Dave Meltzer is theorizing as well, is that he's under the belief there will be 2 WrestleManias a year, one that's in Saudi Arabia, one that's wherever else WWE takes it. WWE is going to get paid a lot of money either way, so it kind of makes sense for them to do it. I just think the WrestleMania thing, it's an interesting tactic because that's a real... One WrestleMania a year kind of separated itself from everybody else, from all the other PLEs. So the idea of them doing 2 of them could definitely hurt in that aspect of things. But it's not going to hurt in terms of the money because of their deal with the Sports Authority over there in Saudi Arabia. So we'll keep you updated, but don't be shocked if you hear about Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, or Riyadh, Saudi Arabia having its own WrestleMania. And I would be very intrigued to see what sort of information comes out on that next. Peace.